Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Please put your cell phones on vibration, inshallah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Ashhadu anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Hayya ala salat. Hayya ala salat. Hayya ala falah. Hayya ala falah. Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. La ilaha illallah. Cell phones on vibration, please.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا. من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. أما بعد. And continuing with the advice of Luqman to his son, we come to the statement of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala where he said, Ya bunay, aqim as-salat, wa'mur bil-ma'roof wanha 'anil munkari wasbir 'ala ma asabak, inna dhalika min 'azmi al-umur. He said, O my beloved son, establish the salah and enjoin what is good and forbid what is evil, and be patient with whatever befalls you as a result of that. Inna dhalika min 'azmi al-umur, for indeed this is from the highest of moral affairs. The highest of moral affairs. Brothers and sisters in Islam, understand that enjoining what is good and forbidding what is evil, it is an Islamic moral requisite that requires a certain level of knowledge and distinction between good and bad, halal and haram. And it also requires a certain degree of personal fortitude and impartiality that will allow one to say the truth and stand in the discomforts of confrontation without compromise or complicity. Oftentimes we want to say something, but then that feeling of being discomforted by opening my mouth in a situation where it may have people look at me different or treat me different or engage me different causes us to shut our mouths even though we know that it's wrong. And on the other side of that, sometimes we're friends with people, we're cool with people, and our biases and our partiality towards them, being partial towards them, doesn't allow us to say to them what needs to be said. Say the truth to them. And this is why Luqman said to his son, وَاصْبِرْ عَلَى مَا أَصَابَكَ, and be patient with whatever befalls you. Because we oftentimes think that speaking truth to power does not come without consequences. There are consequences to it. But the person who understands how that this is from the excellence of moral affairs, moral matters, they can sleep well at night. As the saying goes, that truth is an honest man's pillow. I sleep well at night. I can deal with the discomforts of saying the truth, but what I can't live with is being silent about the truth and then going to sleep. As they say, a coward dies 1,000 deaths. And you got to live with that. You got to live with the fact that you know that this is wrong and you can't say anything about it. I don't know about you, but I'm sorry, I can't live like that. And so when you look at this advice, and Luqman is giving his son, he's preparing him for adulthood. He's preparing him to be a man. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in other ayats in the Quran left a little room in his instructions or his command for this requisite of enjoining what is good and forbidding what is evil, because he knew that most, if not most of people, would not be capable of shouldering the responsibility of enjoining what is good and forbidding what is evil. This is not for the faint of heart. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in another ayat in the Quran, وَلْتَكُمْ مِنْكُمْ أُمَّةٌ يَدْعُونَ إِلَى الْخَيْرِ وَيَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ وَيَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ. That let there arise out of you a ummah, a group, small group, from amongst you. Not all of you, because everybody can't handle that. Let there arise from amongst you a group of people calling to that which is good, enjoining what is good, and forbidding what is evil. وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. And these are the people that will be successful. Understand something, brothers and sisters. Truth by itself is very powerful, but it means nothing when there's no one to uphold it and to defend it. It's just a concept. It's just a concept if there's no one there to uphold it and to defend it. And so when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded Bani Israel in the Quran to enter into Ard al-Muqaddasa, into the promised land, when he commanded them to enter into the promised land, I want you to look at their response. They said to Musa, قالوا يا موسى إن فيها قوم جبارين وإنا لن ندخلها حتى يخرجوا فيها فإن يخرجوا منها فإنا داخلون. They said, O Musa, in that land there are people, Jabbarin, tyrants, who are big and strong. I'm giving an analogy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is giving us an analogy here between truth and falsehood. And those who have the heart to stand up and uphold the truth versus those who are too cowardly to do so. They said that in that land there are people in there, Qawm and Jabbarin. These are people who are tyrants, strong, and they're not going to have any mercy. And we are not going to enter into that land until they come out. And when they come out, then we'll enter. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala captures for us the conversation between two righteous men from amongst Bani Israel. فَقَالَ رَجُلَانِ مِنَ الَّذِينَ يَخَافُونَ أَنْعَمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِمَا ادْخُلُوا عَلَيْهِمُ الْبَابَ فَإِذَا دَخَلْتُمُوهُ فَإِنَّكُمْ غَالِبُونَ وَعَلَى اللَّهِ فَتَوَكَّلُوا إِن كُنتُم مُؤْمِنِينَ. And two men who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had favored from amongst them, and they feared that that favor would be stripped from them and taken away from them. They said to them, ادخلوا عليهم الباب, enter in through the gates. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make you victorious. You will be ghalibun. All you got to do is enter. Let Allah deal with the rest. One of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names is Al-Haq. He is the truth. And that means that any truth that we stand for and that we uphold, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will aid you in that. But we allow our fear to overshadow the victory that is at the end of that journey. They said, enter through the gates. And if you enter, then you will be gharibun. You will have victory. وَعَلَى اللَّهِ تَوَكَّلُوا. And put your trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in kuntum mu'mineen, if you indeed are believers. And their response to Musa was, قالوا يا موسى إنا لن ندخلها أبدا ما داموا فيها فاذهب أنت وربك فقاتلا إنا هاهنا قاعدون. They said to Musa, "Oh Musa, we are never going to enter into that place as long as those people are there. You and your Lord go fight. We'll wait right here." It's cowardly. Yeah, I know it's the truth, but let Allah deal with that. MashaAllah. Truth is just a concept if there's no one there to defend it and uphold it. And as we claim to be people of truth, there's so much betrayal and treachery and backstabbing that goes on amongst Muslims, it's ridiculous. So much betrayal, backstabbing, going behind people's back, treachery that goes on amongst Muslims worldwide, not just here in America. I want you to broaden your horizon. That goes on amongst the Muslim ummah. We ought to be ashamed to call ourselves people of truth. Ahlul Haq. We should be ashamed of associating ourselves with one of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's magnificent names, Al-Haq. They allowed the immediate threat of fighting, right, to overshadow the victory that was already guaranteed to them if they had just entered the gate as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded them. This is akin to someone who knows the truth or sees a wrong and refuses to correct it due to the fear of consequence. Instilling this concept, Luqman instilling this concept into the mind of a young man is to cultivate within him a moral and a spiritual compass by which he will navigate his engagements with the world and around him. Essentially, we're teaching, or Luqman is teaching his son, as we learn from these lessons, and we're teaching our youth to leverage their personal values, their morals and their personal values to avoid infringing on the rights of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the rights of their souls and the rights of others over them. Many young people, brothers and sisters in Islam, many young people get lost in the transitional process of adolescence to adulthood, trying to figure out who they are. And they oftentimes believe that following the crowd is the safest and the easiest thing to do in order to escape the discomforts that are associated with standing on principle. Yeah, it's very difficult to stand on principle. It's difficult. The high road is difficult, but it's an honorable one. And it's one that allows you to sleep peacefully at night. It allows you to know that when you stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that I did the right thing. Even if I have to take the loss in this life. The loss in this life is just temporary. The loss in this life is temporary. But I can stand with my head up in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knowing that I did the right thing. And this is something that young people get lost with. In their transitional process from adolescence to adulthood, some of them believe that I have to follow the crowd. I got to do what everybody else is doing because I'm uncomfortable standing on my own 2 feet. I'm uncomfortable standing in this lane by myself, and I look around and there's not only but a few people. And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called Ibrahim a ummah, a nation by himself. Inna Ibrahim kana ummatan. Ibrahim was a ummah by himself. And the scholars of tafsir, they explained that the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called Ibrahim a ummah لِأَلَّا يَسْتَوْحِشْ سَالِكُ الطَّرِيقِ مِنْ قِلَّةِ سَالِكِينَ فِيهَا, so does not feel alienated because of the small amount of people on it. It's not a lot of people walking that path. And it gets very lonely. And sometimes you look out and you see the vast majority of the people upon falsehood, the vast majority of the people lying, stealing, betraying, being treacherous, and doing them, getting to the bag. all about their paper, all about their money. You see everybody else about that, but you're about your principles and your values. That means more to you. And sometimes when we look around and we see there's only a few people on that path, sometimes it can get very lonely. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called Ibrahim a ummah, so that when you're on that path and you see only a few people on that path with you, you don't start to feel alienated. You don't start to feel uncomfortable. Or if you do feel uncomfortable, then you bask in your discomfort. You bask in your discomfort. In following the crowd, many young people engage in behaviors that they know are wrong while ignoring behaviors that they know that are right. And this is the definition of selling your soul. Selling your soul means to go against your morals and your values, to do things that make you uncomfortable. And in order for us to deal with the feeling of discomfort, as human beings can't live with dissonance. So we have to find a way to live with the discomfort. So we either justify or we give it up altogether. You either find a reason to pathologize or to justify it, or you give it up altogether, but you can't hang in the balance. Human beings can't deal with that, the conflict between their cognitions. And so following the crowd, unfortunately, young people begin to engage in behaviors they know that are wrong, and they ignore behaviors that they know that are right, creating an attitude of duplicity, which goes against the very core of istiqamah or thabat al-din, goes against the very concept of being steadfast on our religion. The Prophet ﷺ, when one of his wives was asked, what was the dua that the Prophet ﷺ used to make the most? She said he used to say, Allahumma ya muqallib al-qulub, thabbit qalbi ala dinik. Oh Allah, changer of the hearts, make my heart firm on your religion. Steadfastness. And you'll find us today as Muslims opportunistic, flip-flopping, depending on the opportunity, situation, and circumstances that presents themselves. We'll forego our deen. We'll forego the taqwa of Allah, the consciousness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the bag that is in front of us. Let me know how that works out for you, Yawm al-Qiyamah. So this behavior conflicts with the Islamic tradition of thabat, or istiqamah, steadfastness on the religion, and it opens the door for opportunistic behaviors that allows a person to give precedence to personalities over principles, given the situation or circumstance that the person finds themselves in. لما قدم أبو مسعود البدري على حذيفة طلب منه أن يوصيه فقال له فيما رواه لا لكائي ألم يأتك اليقين قال بلى وعزة ربي فقال حذيفة اعلم أن الضلال حق الضلالة أن تعرف ما كنت تنكر وتنكر ما كنت تعرف إياك وتلون في الدين الله فإن دين الله سبحانه وتعالى واحد. Abu Mas'ud al-Badri, he returned back to Medina from his travels, and he went to Hudayfa, one of the great companions of the Prophet ﷺ, who had deep wisdom. And he asked Hudayfa, give me some advice, some wasiyah, some nasiha, give me some advice. And Hudayfa said to him, Alam ya'tika al-yaqeen, hasn't certainty already reached you? What else, what more do you need from me? And he said, yes, but by the permission of my Lord, but I want some advice from you. And this is at a time when the Sahaba radiallahu anhum were very few in number, the Tabi'un, the Tabi'in, and the generations that came after them, and changes in the religion started to appear. However, you had many of the Sahaba who still alive at that time, still remember the days with the Prophet ﷺ, and they're not going to change with the time. Haqq is haqq. Truth is truth, and it doesn't change with the time. And so Hudayfa said to Abu Mas'ud, he said, Inna dalala haqq dalala. He said, clearly going astray, clearly leaving the straight path, is an ta'rif ma kunta tunkir, is to acknowledge the things that you used to disregard and to disregard the things that you used to acknowledge. Meaning to consider halal what you used to consider haram, and to consider haram what you used to consider halal. Flip-flopping based upon the time and the circumstances. He said, إِيَّاكَ وَتَلَوٌ فِي دِينِ اللَّهِ. He said, I caution you against flip-flopping in the religion of Allah, not having steadfastness in the religion of Allah. فَإِنَّ دِينَ اللَّهِ وَاحِدٌ. The religion of Allah is one. I don't care what time, what place you are in. The religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not change. Haram yesterday is still haram today. Haram yesterday, haram today. Haram أمس, haram اليوم, وحرام بكرة. الحق ما يتغير. Truth does not change with the time. And unfortunately today, Muslims, we're always looking for another opportunity to readjust our lens, to reinterpret the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to suit our desires. La wallahi. And this is why the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said there will always remain a group of people. Always. لا تزال طائفة من أمتي ظاهرين على الحق لا يضرهم من خذلهم ولا من خالفهم حتى يأتي أمر الله وهم كذلك. He said there will never cease to remain a group of people from my ummah. A group, small group, not the whole ummah, small group from my ummah. طائفة from my ummah. ظاهرين على الحق. They make no excuses about the truth that they are upon. Unapologetically Muslim, unapologetically Sunni, unapologetically on the haqq. لا يضرهم من خذلهم. They will not be harmed by those who go against them, nor by those who forsake them. And they will remain like that until the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is established. You and I can only hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would give us the privilege to be from amongst them. That's a privilege. It's not a given because what you call yourself. You can name yourself whatever you want to call yourself. Alim, scholar, Rabbani, Fulani, Salafi, Khalafi, Sufi. You can name yourself whatever you want to name yourself. هذه الألقاب. These are just labels that you call yourself. ما أنزل الله عليه بالسلطان. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give you no authority. No authority. And you can call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. How you fare in the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will determine whether that is true or not. Call yourself whatever you want to call yourself. In this day and time, we're so impressed by the labels. I'm this, I'm that. Meanwhile, your approach to Islam, meanwhile, your engagement with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something otherwise. كل يدعي وصل الليلة والليلة لا تقر لهم بذلك. Everybody talking about they got a connection to Layla, but Layla don't recognize any of them. The truth never changes, brothers and sisters. And it is easy to make a claim about something and to adhere to the truth when there's no alternative to the truth that suits your desires. Everybody's on the truth when the truth is the only alternative. But when you have alternative truth that suits your desires, will we still maintain that same level of steadfastness? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا تَتَنَزَّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ أَلَّا تَخَافُوا وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا وَأَبْشِرُوا بِالْجَنَّةِ الَّتِي كُنْتُمْ تُوعَدُونَ نَحْنُ أَوْلِيَاؤُكُمْ فِي الْحَيَاةِ الدُّنْيَا وَفِي الْآخِرَةِ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, indeed, those who say Allah is my Lord. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ قَالُوا رَبُّنَا اللَّهُ ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا. Indeed, those who say Allah is my Lord, and then afterwards they are upright, steadfast on that. Not that I just say it, not just what comes off of my tongue, but I mean it. ثُمَّ اسْتَقَامُوا, and then they are steadfast on that. The angels descend upon them because that's not an easy task. The angels, look at how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aids them. تَتَنَزَّلُ عَلَيْهِمُ الْمَلَائِكَةُ. The angels descend upon them and say to them, لَا تَخَافُوا, don't fear. وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا, don't grieve. Don't fear the consequences of being on the truth. وَلَا تَحْزَنُوا, and don't grieve over the people that you had to leave behind because they couldn't keep up with your truth. Because you can't take everybody with you, and that's a fact. Some people you want to go by, you want to go share the haqq with them, you want to share the truth with them, they looking at you like you got two heads. And you have to do with them exactly what Khidr did to Musa. Hada firaqu bayni wa baynik. This is where me and you go our separate ways. I'm on a different journey than you are. I thought I could take you with me, but I can't. I thought I could take you with me, but I can't. I have to stay on this journey by myself. This is where we go our separate ways. But the angels descend upon them. Allah takhafu wa la tahzanu. Don't fear, don't grieve. Wa abshiru, and receive glad tidings of the paradise that you have been promised. Nahnu awliya'ukum. We are your friends and protectors. Because when you walk in this path of truth, the angels are the only ones that got you. You be thinking that this is your man, this is your girl, she got you, he got you, until your truth conflicts with their falsehood. Now you got a problem. Because we're friends all the way up until that point. We're cool. We're friends all the way up until my truth conflicts with your falsehood. Now we're not friends anymore. Now you don't call anymore. Now you don't text anymore because it's not me. Don't take it personal. It's not me. It's my love of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and my steadfastness on what I believe is truth. And as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, جَاءَ الْحَقُّ وَالزَّهَقَ الْبَاطِلِ, that when truth comes, falsehood vanishes. They cannot exist in the same space. They cannot exist in the same space. Which is why the Prophet ﷺ said that if no two people love each other for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, إِلَّا يُفَرِّقُ بَيْنَهُمَا الْمَعَاصِي, except that one of them is committing sins. Two people very close to one another, asdiqa, friends, and nothing separates them except that one of them is engaging in sin. Because truth and falsehood cannot exist in the same space together. Abdullah ibn Mas'ud radiallahu anhu gave some advice to some of the tabi'un, the younger generation that came after the Sahaba, along these lines of learning how to stand in the discomfort of your truth. He said, "La takunu im'a." Don't be followers. Don't be im'a. Don't be followers. In ahsan an-nas ahsant, wa in asa'u asat. That if people decide to do good, then you're going to do good. If people decide to do evil, then you're going to do evil. You're a follower. You don't stand on any principle. Whatever is going on around you, you assimilate. The same behavior. He said, أَلَا يُوَطِّنْ أَحَدُكُمْ نَفْسَهُ إِذَا كَفَرَ النَّاسَ لَا يَكْفُرُ. He said, why don't one of you condition yourself to such a degree that if the entire world decide to disbelieve in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you are not going to disbelieve in Allah. I wouldn't care if the entire world decided right now there's no such thing as God. We're done with this whole concept. Can you stand in the discomfort that is associated with being or speaking truth and standing on your truth? Can you stand that? And this is what is meant by Islam starting off as strange and returning to be something that is strange. As the Prophet ﷺ said, بَدَأَ الْإِسْلَامُ غَرِيبًا وَسَيَعُودُ كَمَا بَدَأَ غَرِيبًا فَتُوبَى لِلْغُرَبَاءِ. That Islam started off strange and alien, just a few handful of people uttering a concept that went against the entire status quo of Mecca. La ilaha illallah, one concept that went against the entire status quo. They didn't have a problem with the Prophet ﷺ personally. It was the concept, it was the truth that he was standing upon that they had a problem with. And because he wasn't willing to budge, then he was a problem along with it, by default. He said, Wallahi ya ammi, oh my uncle, if they put the sun in my right hand, the moon in my left hand, that I give up my message, Wallahi, I will not give up my message until Allah give me the victory that he promised me, or I die in pursuit of it. Aw amutu fi talabihi. Those are the only two options you have with me. There's no third option. Either Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to grant me the victory that he promised me, or I'm going to die in pursuit of it. Those are the only two options that I'm giving them. And once Abu Talib saw how firm and steadfast he was on his truth, He had no other option but to acquiesce. As truth goes through 3 stages. The first is you're going to be ridiculed. They're going to make fun of you. They call them sahirun, kadhab. They call him a liar. They call him a magician. They call him crazy. The first stage of truth is that you're going to be ridiculed for it. Because as a person who stands on truth, you can see what others can't see. And so they ridicule you. They call you crazy. They call you this. They label you with all types of labels. And then the next stage is that they violently oppose you. Because when I can't shut you up, and I shut you down. That's what toxic people do. They want control of you, to muzzle you, to shut you up. And so they put a bounty on the head of the Prophet ﷺ, forcing him to leave his home and go to Medina. And then the third stage of truth is that they accept it as evident truth. They have no other choice at that point but to see your steadfastness and welcome your truth. And we only pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that He grants us the fortitude that is necessary to uphold the truth of Islam that we are standing upon. La ilaha illallah is the only truth in your life. Every other truth in your life stems from La ilaha illallah.